Hi friends, Mindy here. I want to show you these journaling cards that I created using a collage masterboard. This one I've gone ahead and done some decorating on the front of it just so you can kind of see how these can end up. This one I added just a little bit. I may add some more. I feel like it needs a word, but I created this for a journal, so I'm gonna wait until I know kind of what I want to put there. And then this one I just have this film strip picture here, and I have a feeling I want to add a word or something to this as well. And so you can keep them as simple or as complicated as you want, but I just kind of wanted to show you what they end up looking like. I distressed the edge, but then I can go back through and kind of decorate these however I want. And this all came from one Collage masterboard. I have shown Collage masterboards on my channel before. This is actually one of my favorites. But this time I wanted to use some mixed media techniques. So the last one that I did on my channel was very kind of just very vintage paper, different things, which is definitely a way that you can go, and I'll use those in a specific journal. But I wanted to do some that had some mixed media techniques. So I just want to flip through here really quick and show you what we're going to be creating today. The process is a little weird at first, maybe doing it this way, but it was just a lot of fun. I wanted to use up some scraps, and sometimes I just feel like collaging or doing something just creative without really, a huge end goal. And then you can just take these and make them into journaling cards or tuck spots or pockets or whatever, in journals or whatever, which is what I'm planning to do, which is why you can see I kind of ended up with a specific color theme, but you'll see as I'm working through the process, it all starts out with just a bunch of scraps on my desk. So I'm going to put you on fast forward and show you how I make this collage masterboard and how we end up with these little journaling cards. Okay, so I'm starting off just with a plain piece of paper. This is like some old scrapbooking paper. It's like a weird cream color, and I just don't really care for it, but I'm using it because the back will be a good place for journaling. And I'm just using a Yoo-hoo glue stick, and I'm literally pulling a bunch of scraps out of a little bucket that sits on my desk when I'm working. And these are all different kinds. That first little piece there was actually some brown packaging. This is some leftover pattern paper from By the Will for God, and I just used the last of my little glue stick here, so I'm gonna have to pull out another one. I'm not intending to keep this neutral at all. I literally am just gonna pull whatever scraps I can out of my little bucket. So this is some hymnal paper. I'm just slathering on some glue here and gonna put this on. You could do this with collage medium or matte gel medium, matte medium, anything like that. The reason I'm using a glue stick though is because the substrate that I'm working on is just regular scrapbook paper, so it's not super thick, and I didn't want it to be like warping a lot. If you use something like matte medium that's more liquidy, it'll just kind of cause more problems. So you can see even this tissue I'm applying just with this Yoo-hoo glue stick. It's a really strong glue stick. I have not had any trouble using them for projects like this. So I'm just going to add a little bit more music paper over here on this right side, and I'm not being fussy about keeping everything in straight lines or whatever. I'm literally just throwing these down. So I have this is just some other scrapbooking leftover paper. This is a little piece from the Artist Almanac. Both of those were, again, just adding all kinds of things, just random colors, random everything. This was a little journaling card from By the Will for God from my little Bible project I did last month. Another Artist Almanac. Here is some more tissue. This was left over from a little project that I just did as well. I was covering a journal. Excuse me. So this one I had to kind of smooth out with a little card here just to make sure I had that nice and adhered down. And then I'm just going through here, and again, I'm just adding all the scraps, and it doesn't matter the color. It doesn't matter what they are really. It just, because all of it will just give kind of visual texture. And so here is where we end up with that. And I know it looks like a hot mess and a lot of chaos, and then it's going to get worse before it gets better. I'll just warn you about that. One of the things with kind of mixed media stuff is sometimes that, you know, there's kind of a statement that people make that like it gets worse before it gets better, and if you don't like it yet, it's because you need another layer. So it's, you know, just because you're not done yet. So the first thing that I'm doing here is going through with some Dina Wakley gesso and kind of going around the edges of all of these papers. And then I decided that wasn't quite what I needed. I needed a little bit more. So I'm actually using, this is a gesso wash that I keep in a jar. Just easier to keep it made up than have to do it every time. So I just poured that out all over this page, and I'm just smoothing it out with my paintbrush. And then I'm going to come in with a baby wipe and pull back some of that color. And I'm sorry for the lighting. I don't know what's going on my desk right here. But anyway, so I'm going to kind of just pull some of this gesso back up, and that's going to kind of reveal things. But everything now is going to be kind of muted, and so even though there's a lot of chaos back there still, a lot of different layers and different colors and textures and patterns and everything, it's going to be easier now because everything is kind of on the same level, if that makes sense. So now I am going to come in and add another layer. I'm using, this is one of the new stamps from Tim Holtz. I think it's called Bubble. I think that's right. And I'm just going to go ahead and ink this up. I am using Archival Distress in Black Soot because I just really like how dark this black is. The regular Archival ink has kind of a blue tint to it, if that makes sense, and this is just a really, like, a more true black in my opinion. So I'm just kind of stamping this. It comes with a stamping block, but I did not use that. I'm actually just using the thing that the stamp is attached to and stamping it really randomly. I'm only kind of pushing down in certain areas. I don't want a full impression of this stamp. I just kind of want the randomness of it. Yeah, that's called Bubbles. And then another one is this Botanic Collage, the stamp set, and I'm just going to go in here a few different times and just kind of apply this. I like this because it has like a collage look to it already. There's no hard edges on these stamps. There's just like some text and a botanical or a butterfly. I'm using a couple of the butterfly stamps here, and I'm just stamping them randomly because what's going to happen is when I cut this apart, I'm not going to know really where everything is. I know there are some people that kind of plan that out when they do that, but that kind of defeats the purpose in my mind and kind of takes away the fun of a masterboard like this, because part of the fun is just kind of not knowing how it's all going to end up. And if you try to plan it, you won't get the same effect as if you just kind of do it randomly and see what you get. So I'm just going through here with this botanical. I stamped this one upside down. I just wanted that flower kind of hanging down. And then there's this one little spot kind of in the middle here. I just want a little bit of more black. So I'm going to kind of use a little sticky note and block off a little bit of this section so that I can get some of this stamping in there. Not the flower part, but just the actual kind of text that's in the background of it. I'm just kind of trying to get an idea. This is why it's not good to just be too fussy with it. It's better to just kind of go in there randomly. And you could go in and do mark making in pens or whatever. You could do all kinds of things. You could stamp in different colors if you wanted. For me, all I wanted to do was to add that layer of black to kind of push everything back into the background. And now for the contrast, I'm going to add some white, but I'm going to do that with texture paste. And this is a stencil, a Tim Holtz stencil. It's called Burlap. This is one of my favorite stencils to use for just kind of adding random texture, because it's not super overpowering. It's just, you know, it's really kind of small pieces. And so it's not like you don't get a huge amount of texture paste or whatever. You can apply it pretty thin, and but it gives it enough interest and texture in there. And I'm applying a really thin coat of this. I'm not applying this really heavily. I'm using Light and Fluffy modeling paste from the Crafter's Workshop for this, which is not super opaque. So in the end, you kind of lose a little bit of the white, but I will go back and fix that. So just going through and adding just random texture paste, and then I'm going to go clean my stencil and let that dry. So I really love this one area where this butterfly is, and so I want to add some more color kind of back into this. So when you're looking at this collage, you can kind of see there's like some pinks and purples and some teals that are kind of shining through, and those are the colors that I want to kind of bring out. So I have these Stabilo Woody pencils, and these are a water-soluble, like graphite kind of colored pencil. And so I'm just scribbling that around, and then I'm going to come in with a water brush and smooth around some of this color. And I tried to do this in areas where there was some texture paste, so because the color is going to react a little bit differently to the texture paste than it's going to just on the rest of the page. And so I'm just going around doing all the purple first, and then I'll go back in with this teal color and just kind of smoothing around. There was a little bit of gesso here that was still wet, so I just smoothed it in there. It was no big deal. And then doing the teal, and I'll just kind of go back and forth around here, getting some more color, not a ton of color, just kind of want little pops of color here and there, just for some added interest. And then I dried all that, and then I'm going in with, these are tempera paint sticks. These are actually a kid's art supply, but they're great because they dry super fast. So I'm just kind of going over some of where that texture paste is, especially with this white, to really bring out the white of the texture paste a little bit better. So I'm just gently scraping it over the texture paste, and it's just kind of picking that up, and just adding some white to the background. And now I'm going to add just a little bit of black, really not going overboard with the black here, just a few little places, because there's a lot of black still in there with the stamping. But there were some of the papers that I added were like a textured paper, and so I wanted to have the texture of that paper show up a little bit. And then I also wanted to spray, this is some coffee that I have just in a little spray bottle, because I wanted to add some brown into some places, again, or a lot of the places around where the texture paste is, just to kind of get those different reactions. So now I am going to, I'll let all that dry, and now I'm going to cut this up. So I flipped it face down so I can't really see, and I'm making 3x4 journaling cards. So I'm cutting this. This is a 12x12 paper. I think I said that. So I'm cutting it first into strips that are 3 inches, and then I'm going to come back through and cut them into 4 inches, and we will do the big reveal here. So this is what it looks like before I added any of, like, you know, the distressing around the edges and that kind of stuff that I showed at the beginning. This is where they all ended up. So this is just fun. I know this technique isn't maybe not for everybody. Mixed media isn't for everybody, but you can add over the top. You can even, you know, mute this down if you wanted to. Just gives you a lot of variety, and I will be using these, like I said, in a journal. So anyway, if you like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye.